Welcome to the Bacon Lodge. In this video, I'm going to show you how I made this center island here. I'm going to show you how I use cabinets to lay out the base of it, brought in the piece of used granite and we placed it on top, how I cut out that stove insert, how I made the rest of it kind of look pretty, put that front edge on it. The side pieces are missing for right now. I will be bringing them back up in a later video. I'm not going to be going up there for a few months, so I wanted to make sure I got this out to you guys. Welcome to Bacon's Lodge, where I will build many things, fix even more, and try to make it an adventure along the way. Welcome back to the Bacon Lodge. I'm Josh, and this is the kitchen of the lodge that we have up north. I had an island here that was just some plywood and some studs that I put together, and I took it out because I want to put the flooring in, and then I got a piece of granite from an architectural salvage place. They're pretty cool people over there. I got the island of this and the counter that I'm having another video that I put into the corner for. It was a total of $470. It's a little bit more than you can find at Facebook Marketplace, but it was the slab that I wanted for the island. It did have a sink cutout in it, which I'm going to have to modify because I want to turn it into a stovetop cutout. And then there's a few little notches on it, and then 3 sides aren't finished. So what I got to do now, and I'm going to have you come along with me now, is figure out how I'm going to lay out the base for that slab. I bought these 2 cabinets. They were from Menards. They were marked down to $75 a piece. They're not the exact color that I wanted, but they're finished. They are a blind corner cabinet, so they have a small drawer and a small door, and then the opening that would be able to go to another cabinet. I'm going to manipulate them, so I'll probably eventually just put another door on here, and it'll work out great. Like with everything else I buy, I try to get it on a discount because I'm cheap, and I try to do all this stuff as cost effective as I can. With that being said, I got to figure out how I'm going to orient these out so that I can have my stove sit in here, still be functional, and at the end make it look the way I want it to. There's a couple options. I was thinking of putting, so that they face out on both sides, and then just having the center where there's a stove, and I'll put some drawers underneath it. I could have it turned sideways like this because the stove is going to sit here. I could have it one turn sideways like this and one turn like that. I could have them both turn sideways. The problem with turning them both sideways is that this drawer would go right underneath where the stove is going to be, so that I don't think is an option. So I'm kind of leaning towards more of them both facing out, and then I build a stud wall in the back, and then eventually I'll build a set of drawers that go inside here. I kind of talk to you while I do this because that way you can see how I'm thinking about it. If you wanted to comment and say, hey, that was stupid, I get that too. But I kind of, by walking through with you, it makes me think a little bit more. So I have these cabinets set to be the outside, and then inside here will be the stovetop, and I'll build drawers underneath there to hold the pots and pans. Slab I have is 105.5 inches. These are spaced out at 108 inches. I wanted them a little bit wider because I'm going to be putting boards across this anyhow to reinforce it. But I want it a little bit further because I'm going to have a ledge here, and then around the front is going to be a sitting area. So I got to figure out exactly how I want to build that out. These are only going to be, an inch past here, so that way you can still use the drawer and the doors. So that should work out pretty well. The slab is 37.5 inches, and the cabinets are 35.5 inches wide. So the next thing I'm going to have to do is build the stud wall to fit in the middle of there. Now that we have the wall built, I'm going to attach it to this cabinet. And now I'm going to set this flush with this outside panel because this outside panel is going to end up being covered up. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to screw through the back of this panel here into the stud. And I'm sure that's not the way you're supposed to do it because that seems too easy, and people that do this professionally will probably be thinking I'm crazy. And now I'm just going to screw up this two together there. The next step I'm going to do is just make sure that both the back and the front are the same spacing. So I'll square it up. I'll just do corner to corner. It makes more sense. And then I'll anchor to the floor. So first we're going to start with the overall lengths. This is going to be the one we lock in at. It's 108.5 inches, 114 and a quarter. 114 and a quarter. Holy crap, it's square. That doesn't usually happen, but it did today. So now I'm going to anchor down that wall. And now the next part I'm going to do is I have to make boards to go over top of this to help support the weight of the countertop. Cut them at the 105.5. We'll do 3 across and then probably some supports in the middle. So we'll do that. I have 2 10-footers, I believe, and the other one I could just kind of piece together. What I did was I put 2 full-length boards that are 105.5, put bracers on the side here so they can anchor down. I put in 1 brace over there in the middle. That's temporary. It'll come out whenever I built the cabinet, but I think this should be strong enough. This is offset to the side because that's the area that I need for the stove to be cut out. So the next step would be the hardest step, which is going to be us bringing this in here. So wish us luck. I'm going to have to go try to get some help, and we'll try to bust this out.
Over the ridge. Yeah. Oh yeah, slide it first.
More. Keep going. Slide yours a little bit more.
You got it stuck on us. Right. Yep, I got it.
I can stay with it.
I got it. All right, that's probably good.
I have you stabilizing up and down,
Yep.
and
I don't want you lifting. We just want you to
stabilize it straight up and down. So we're going to be pushing it this way.
Yep.
We're going to put this one on.
Yep.
And it's still going to be tilted up. No, leave it right where it was.
Yep. Okay.
Get a brace.
Yep.
Okay.
I gotta cut down.
I know. I
I
gotta
need one more. Hold on.
we get this in place first, Jeff, and then we're. Yep. This is going to be the hardest part. Is this? Well, not the hardest part, but it's going to be the next hard part.
Don't push it much like no, no, you the way because it's fucking heavy.
Hey, Ron, get on the very end and just stand.
Yeah, I'm trying. I want to make sure I'm bracing this thing.
Okay, Jeff, go down. Go down. You got all the way? I got nothing.
I guess.
Yep. All right.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
She's tipping it up. Probably me because I'm
Let me
bad.
get on the other
Swing to the
side.
left.
Let me get on the other side.
Ron, go to your left.
Or your right, is your back right now? Yep.
Yep.
Oh, hang on.
Back. A little bit. Okay, I'll move it. Okay, thank you. Now that we have the rather large granite slab in here, this used to be a sink, and I want to turn it into a stovetop. I would have liked to have had it split over, just taking up this hole, but it would have left about a 4-inch gap here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it off to the side here. You can see it mapped out with the tape. And then I'm going to try to get a garbage can to fit in right here. Because my idea is that, you know, you're sitting here making eggs, you just crack the eggs, throw them in there, or you're making something else, you can throw it right there. It also keeps the garbage can from being out in the open. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my diamond cutter, and we're going to cut this out. First, what I usually do is I scratch it just a little bit through the tape so I can have the mark. I don't remove the tape. I just leave the tape in there. That way I think it less chance of me scratching the part that I want to keep. The wheel that I have doesn't actually cut all the way through, so it actually will really work pretty well. That way it won't just drop and snap. So I think it'll work pretty well. Hopefully it turns out okay. You're going to watch me and you'll see. now that I have it all cut and cleaned up, I'm going to dry fit the stovetop that I want to put in there and see how bad my cuts are. See a little bit of overcut there, and there. But what I'll do is I'll get some epoxy and I'll fill those up so you won't be able to see them too bad. But I think it's pretty good. So I cut the posts at the same height as the cabinets here. In my mind, that was what I needed to do. So I finished all of what I thought were going to be the right pieces back at the shop with the long piece for here and 2 side pieces for here of measurements that I had taken the previous time I was up here. And evidently I did the measurements wrong because the pieces I cut for the side here are about 6 inches too short. So because of that, I'm going to have to make different size boards for the side here, and I'm not going to make them quite as thick as I did for the face, just because I don't have any more that are really thick wall anymore. So my intention before was to just have a 1x that was all screwed together and wrapped around so that it could support the corner better. So now I'm going to be using a 2x that's going to be mounted right here and pocket screwed into the 3 support boards underneath the slab, and then the 3/4 or 1x that I have wrapped around the front here, I'm just going to have a pocket screwed into the 2 pieces here. I'm not having it run continuously all the way between the posts because I don't think it's necessary. It's not going to add any structure to it, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to pocket screw the actual front piece here to the cabinet itself, and then we're going to put some stuff underneath there when we're all done. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to film it. I'll probably put it on a time lapse. I'm going to pocket screw these out and anchor it all in, make it look good. So off camera, this is the piece of the countertop we're going to put on this trip because I made those wonderful mistakes. I cut the 2 ends of the 45 so they are right at the edge of this part of the granite here. And then I also put in pocket screw holes along here that are going to anchor into this piece of 2x4 here. I put some towards the outside that were not where the stud wall that I built was. I just put 1 side out there, and then 3 inside the stud wall area, and then 1 that's on the other side as well. When I put this down, I'm going to, you'll see it on here, but I'm going to take some of the caulk that I had left over from the counter, and I'm going to put a bead along the bottom here and a little bit up here to act as a little bit of an adhesive. And then we're going to use the screws to mount it as well. The caulk itself actually holds it really, really well. We're going to go on a time lapse now here, and I'm just going to put this down and anchor it all up, and you can watch me, and hopefully it turns out good. Crack is a little bit big in some areas. I believe this granite isn't 100% true straight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go underneath there. You can see a little bit through the crack there. I'm going to put caulk underneath there, completely seal it up. And then instead of using caulk on the top, I think we're going to get some epoxy and get some black pigment in there. And then it'll really lock it all together. Okay, so you just saw me resand the top of this. I had already sanded it down to a 220 grit. I just resanded it again at a 220 grit, kind of a little bit of a fast sand. I didn't do it as thoroughly as I did the first time because it's already at that grit. But the reason why I did that, and I want to make sure I talk about it on here, is when I cut the bevels on here, I use my chop saw because that way I can get a more accurate 45-degree cut. It left a scratch mark or like a rub mark from the safety guard. And when I sand that off, you would think, well, why didn't you just do, like a 1 pass right there? I did that on the last table that I did, and it's about 6 or 8 months old now. And so I'd sanded it all the night before, and then I saw an imperfection, so I went and sanded it before I put the finish on it. And I can see in the last foot of the table a difference in the finish. It almost seems like it's a little bit lighter than the rest of the table. It's not like crazy noticeable, but it's enough that I notice it. So what I think, at least with walnut, is there's an oxidation that happens. And it was just like, that was like over 12 hours. So when I retouch up any sanding on these now, I just do a pass over the entire thing. So, and now I'm just going to go through and wipe it all down. And then we're going to go and clean it with I think either mineral spirits or acetone. That's a step in the process of being able to apply the Rubio Monocoat that I'm going to apply. The counter on the bevel here, it is a little bit proud in some areas because this board is bowed up a little bit. I wanted to try to suck it down when I anchored it into that 2x4 in the back, but it didn't work quite the way I want. So I don't think it's that big of a deal for it to be, I mean, it's maybe a 1/16 of an inch, 2 millimeters roughly. So I mean, it's enough where you can feel it with your hand, but I think it's okay. And like down here, it's pretty much perfectly flat, but like in the middle at the highest part, it's like that. I tried pushing down and then anchoring it in, but the screws were more or less going right into the seam between the granite and the 2x, so it wasn't able to suck it down as much as I wanted to. Next step I'm going to do is I'm going to tape off the edge of this granite before I put the finish on this. Just in case they spill any over, I don't really need it spilling onto the granite. I don't know what it would do on granite, but I think it would just more or less build up. If I put down tape, it takes 5 seconds and then I can avoid that. I have my Rubio Monocoat here, and I'm going to mix it up. We have to mix 3 parts of the part A to 1 part of the part B. I have these 1 milliliter syringes that I use for filling in small holes when you're doing epoxy and you're doing finishing work. And this is basically the smallest thing I have that can do an accurate measurement of such a small liquid. I'm going to do 30 milliliters of the part A and 10 milliliters of the part B. And then when it's all mixed up, I'm going to use it's just a plastic card here. This is actually a casino card. So this will probably be the most productive thing that this thing's ever done for me. And it's going to spread this out and make it look nice. Once we get it all spread out on there, let it sit for about 2 or 3 minutes. Then we go back and buff it in with I have a white Scoth Brite pad, the non-scratching Scoth Brite pad. The white is just what I think that's what it means is non-scratching, but I don't know. I'm just mixing it up in a plastic disposable cup, and I use disposable silverware. That way I just throw it all away. Okay, so I'm going to be pouring around here. You'll notice that I put a piece of tape on the edge here because eventually there's going to be another board here. And what Rubio Monocoat is, actually, it's a hard wax. I didn't want to get wax on the surface that I'm going to have to use to glue or epoxy, whatever I end up having to do to mount the two together. So I think it would leave a barrier between to make it adhesive. So, and we make that really awesome video that everybody loves to watch of pouring out liquid. Now I'm going to take this, it's a buffing sponge that I have, and I'm just going to rub as much as I can off of here. According to the directions of Rubio Monocoat, you can't rub too much of it off once it's applied, and you have about 5 minutes before it's pretty much set. So what I do is I'm working in sections, and I'm going to use the material that I'm wiping off of here to help finish the face. I'm going to have to bring some more back, but this way I can get a little bit on here, and then I'll come back and get some more when I'm done doing the rest of this. You already see how much it's bringing out the color of this walnut. Okay, then now that I got it all on there the best I can, this is the Scoth Brite pad I was talking about. It's a non-scratching Scoth Brite pad. I still have the 220 grit sandpaper on my sander here. I leave that on there because otherwise the Scoth Brite will attach to the pad. So make sure you keep this completely flat and put it on low, and then you're just going to buff it in with that. And there you go. That's all you do for the finish. I'm going to slowly look down and you can see how beautiful it is. I'm going to hand buff the edge a little bit off camera, and then I got to go over the other ones and finish it before this stuff hardens up. But I think it looks pretty amazing. Back here on the front of the island here, we put the piece of walnut on the edge up there, the one piece that I have earlier, and now I want to cover the face of this. I have this log siding that I like to use up here because it's I like the look of it. I think it's more rustic. So they have this in the sawmill up here,
and you get it in 16-foot boards. And then what I do is I'll go and I'll polyurethane it with some clear polyurethane because I like the look of the natural wood. And then I basically just cut these down in half to 8 foot long because that's what I need. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to nail these up. I'm using just 1 3/4 nails for my nail gun, my finished nails. They should be more than long enough to go into these materials. I'm not going to nail into the faces of the cabinets because they're just going to blow through into the cabinet itself. We don't need that. So the idea is just to nail into these studs that I built on that stud wall. We got them up now. I think it really makes this look complete. I'm working on some stuff behind this, so when I get that done, probably the rest of this trip, I'll show you an overall of this. I won't be able to finish the entire island, like I said, because I'm missing those 2 side pieces because I miscut them. So I got to make some new ones back at the shop. So, but right now, I think this is pretty cool. It'll darken with time. It hurts you, dog. And then to kind of match. These side posts are the same. They're just older. They're southern yellow pine as well. So it should all work out pretty well. With that, that's what I had for this week, and then I was able to finish up at the cabin. I'm going to put up a few different photos here of what it looks like now that I got it all finished out. I want to make sure I thank you for watching this. If you did like what I did, please give me a subscribe or a like or all that wonderful things. Once again, I do appreciate you watching this. May God bless you. Have a great day. See you next time.